Just chugging away at wrapping the SVG elements in Clojure functions for the document rendering library that I'm working on. So may as well just hop right into it and get to it. If I remember correctly, let me not forget to start my timer here for a minute. Right, so today I just work on scale and rotate wrappers for SVG transforms. That, I do believe, is everything, or that's pretty much the basics that I had in mind. Then probably I want to work on providing a sane way to inject color styling things into objects as well. So focus on scale and rotate, because that might take my whole time anyway. So the next thing to do, if I head over to transforms here, scale, let's change this. Translate element, and the interface is some recursive function here with a little bit of this probably I still need to fix it, but anyway, scale is even simpler because every element works equivalently. All I'm doing here is changing the transform map with a new transform with a new scale. So the way that that's done is here. Scale element. It should work. Make a really weird, nope, something went wrong. Just thinking about how this actually affects things. Right, so what I'm thinking through here is, so this circle has this scale thing, right? And it affects the center position values here. But if I instead do this, and in the transform I do scale translate okay, so the same thing happens. It doesn't matter. Okay. Probably overthinking the scale thing a little bit. Well, not entirely. Let me try one other thing here. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, okay, so this is the semantics so this is kind of what I was thinking would make the most, this is the behavior I was kind of expecting, where when you apply scale first and then a translate after, it does not impact the position of the thing, right? So what's happening here is this circle element here is centered around 0, 0, but you're translating the whole group element by 200. So no matter what I set the scale to, the translate values are unaffected by the scale, which makes sense because the translate was applied after the scale. So it's like you draw an object, you scale it up, and then you move it in the global coordinates, not in the unscaled coordinates that are then multiplied by the scale. So that's what I want to happen. Now the problem I'm faced with is that's not how it works, right? So if I get rid of the G tag to get back to the case that I've got here, save that, the thing disappears unless I scale down to translate by that amount, which is not quite ideal. So I have to think about how I actually want to approach this, because it's not acting in the way that makes sense to me. I mean, I could have scale element work on I could have it kind of work this weird way where let me inspect this element. let's go here. This circle, right? It's got the scale on there, but then the transform, the translate part of it is 1 over the scale and 1 over the scale, like that. No, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that's not smart. That's not smart. Well, what I could do, I could make the function scale element by transform, so that still exists and is a fine way to do it, but I could also do scale element as a def multi, where I have this same function dispatch and then I can implement everything where the scale does directly apply mathematical changes to the coordinates of the things that make up the shape itself. So right, so what I can actually do in this case is let new props be thread props through update so this is where things are going to get a little weird. Let me check something here for a second. If I translate, let me get rid of this. So here is an SVG circle. If I do ellipse 6, 6. Yeah, so an ellipse becomes a circle. Like they're exactly visually equivalent. Right, if I make this 5, 5, there will be a perfect overlap. You won't see that there's 2 there. Right, so 8, 8. Oop. Right, so what I'm thinking here is if you want to scale the circle, you update R with the function multiply by Sx yeah, and then all you do is return k new props. Let's see if this makes sense. Let's see if it does anything at all. So we go here. Scale element by transform there so that that works. This one, SVG slash scale element is going to be, let's double it. This is nothing, so we can pass nothing into it. So if I save this, something will go weird, but we refresh this because it's going to load in the new definitions. Okay, so it does work, right? I do believe. So if I save that, yeah. Perfect, kinda. So this, okay, so that does nothing. Oh. So what I could do, and this actually, now I have to check this. So is an ellipse equivalent to a scaled circle? Right, let's find out. Let's go 80, 50 here is the ellipse. Actually, we'll go 150. And here, we'll do this, scale element by transform 2 to 1, but we'll wrap this in a SVG slash G so that it scales so that it doesn't move things. And what we expect is exactly what we see, which is an overlap, a perfect overlap. So that does mean I can sort of trick things a little bit when it comes to the circle ellipse case here. And what I can do is Oh, right, this should look like this. That should work, shouldn't it? Yeah, it does. Okay. Right, so what I can do, I can do a few things here. Right, basically new props will have, it'll be condition, and I don't need to, let's clean this up ever so slightly. So condition, and here instead of doing props like that, I can actually just do this, just make it a one-liner, because that is just as readable, honestly. So yeah, update props. Okay, so this works in the condition of or not sy, or sy and sx equals sy. So that's the condition, then you just do a regular update. Otherwise, in any other case, you make it an ellipse. So I could actually just do this. If this, it's that. In any other situation, it's props update and ellipse actually let me Clojure if let. Let's just keep, I'll write it this way for now, just leave it be. Right, so if sy is nil or sx and sy are equal, then you just do this. You just update your prop radius times your scale. Otherwise, you're actually going to produce an ellipse which has almost the same structure here, but instead you have to update our x and our y, and you're going to drop r entirely. Right, dissoc from A, the key A gives an empty map. Yeah. So you dissoc R, you update Rx with the function Sx times whatever's there, so it'll be nothing, but oh, wait a second. We can actually just do assoc into Rx, Sx, wait a second, there's a little problem here. Maybe we do need if let to keep things a little cleaner. Yeah, let's have a look here. Okay, so we do if let new props Let's approach this from the start again here. Let's just clear this out and we'll just do it a nice simple way. We start with an if here, right? If or sx and sy are equal or not sy, as in it's nil. If that's true, all you have to do R is going to be R of props there we go. So now we can do new props is going to be if circle if it is a circle, you do update props into the key R with the function times sx, pardon me, there. Actually, we can do this. We can do assoc r props. Nope, assoc into props r. We can just do r times sx. If it's not that, we thread props through dissoc r assoc rx times sx r. Oop. Assoc ry times syr. Okay. So that's new props. Then, oh, let's also, just while we're here, we may as well do k is if circle, k is circle, otherwise it's ellipse. And then we just return k new props. Right, let's see if that makes any sense. So this is scale element of a circle. So this should still work. Nothing should be different here. Looks good. If I do 2 by 1, have to refresh this, I guess. Yeah. Oh, sweet. So it does seem to work. Save it. 2 by 1.5. Awesome. Okay, so that's a circle. This should still be a circle. Let's inspect it. Right, so this is a circle, but if I make it 1 by 2, this is now not a circle anymore. It's an ellipse with rx, ry. That's pretty cool. I'm okay with that, I think. I think I'm okay with that. The only risk really what would be the least confusing thing is the situation where I don't know. I think I'm gonna be okay with that for the time being. Can always change my mind with that later on. This should be a circle again as well. There's the circle, there's the ellipse inside there. Okay, that looks all right. All right, so let's just keep implementing these. Scale element, ellipse, sx, sy, k, props. Here's a little easier. We don't need to check anything. We can actually just, I could theoretically make the argument where it runs the calculation, and if rx, ry after scaling end up being equal to each other, then replace k with a circle prop. So an ellipse, like a 1 by 2 ellipse, if you scale it 2 by 1, it turns into a circle. I could technically account for that, but I don't know that I like that idea. I think it breaks it. That seems a bridge too far. Let me just write a little note in here though. I'll just leave that there for now. That seems fine for the time being. Right, so ellipse is no issue because you expect to scale it. You expect to scale it with no issues, right? So I also realized what I could do is just have this circle be, instead of this or not, I could actually just eliminate that and make it if those are equal, because this is, okay, so this should still work. Ignoring that broke something. Oh, it does work. Okay, that was weird, but fine. So the reason I'm doing that is just because these are all scale elements. I have to make an interface to it. I have to change this function so that it works on recursive structures, just like I did with translate. And so at that point, I'll build in the check that allows it to be nil and stuff like that. I think that makes sense. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I think that makes sense. Right, so back to this. Here we do, for ellipse, we do new props is a little easier here. All props needs to be is update Rx with the function multiply Sx Rx, update Ry SYRY. That's pretty much it, right? I do believe that is. Which means this here is just returning k new props. Save that and we'll find out if that works by doing over here. Let me refresh this so that it pulls in the new definition. If I go here, svg/scale element 3x3, first of all. Well, let's make this 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 here. Start with the easy comparison. Save that. Compile warning. Oh, of course. That shouldn't be that way, it should be like that. refresh the page. Okay, so we have something missing here. Okay, there we go. There we go. So we've scaled up this ellipse 2 by 2. If we scale it, what does it look like 1 to 1 again? Okay, so if I scale it 1 by 2, it should turn into a circle, or it should look like a circle anyway. And this circle, so now there's 2 ellipses. One just happens to look like a circle. So this one here, Rx and Ry happen to be equal, but it's an ellipse, so it will look like a circle because Rx, Ry look, they're both the same. And this one's an ellipse, of course, because 50 and 100 are different, even though we arrived there by scaling a circle 2 times in the y direction. So if we make this 1, 1, it looks like 2 circles. One will be a circle, one will be an ellipse. Circle in the middle, an ellipse around the outside. It's not necessarily the smoothest, but it works reasonably well, and I think I'm going to stick with it that way for now. So let's go ahead and move on, and we'll do check SVG implementation for scale element, and let's see what's left to do here. Oh, that's right. These technically don't exist yet because I haven't evaluated them into the REPL. So now they do. Right, so missing implementations for path, G, line, polyline, rectangle, polygon, and text, which is fine. So let's have a look at the next one to implement here. If I have a look at shapes, the order that I did it, ellipse, line, and then path are the next 2. Right, so if I go scale def method, scale element line, that's going to have a SX, SY, K props. What does a line look like again? Let's do line. So it takes an A and a B. So all it has is x1, y1, x2, y2. This is extremely simple. It's basically this setup here, props, but you update x1, y1, where you multiply x1 by sx, y1 by sy, and then you do the same for the 2, and that should be everything. Save that, and let's see if it makes any sense. See, now this, I'm realizing, is an interesting scenario a little bit where the logic going through my head right now is the scale of a line will change its position, but the scale of a circle does not change its position, assuming center, like bounding box center scaling. right? So there's a few ways you could scale a line. You could scale it by multiplying by what I'm doing right now, where everything is multiplied by it's call it absolute, like global coordinate scaling, where the coordinates just multiply larger. You could scale it by the center point, where the positions, where the length of the line scales up, but its positions, oh boy, change. Or you could scale it by x1, y1 stays in the same spot, x2, y2 moves to whatever new position times the scale. I don't know what the right thing to do is. This is tricky, actually. This is surprisingly harder than I thought it would be. Right, so let me go ahead and blow this all up for a minute. Okay, let's get rid of that here. This circle, let's get rid of all this. I don't need it. Okay, we're good. 250, 250. So this is exactly in the center of this SVG thing. Now, let's go ahead and make it 400, 400. Why not? I like even numbers. Perfect. It's beautiful. The scale of this, let's make it 2 times. Right, so that is a radius of 10 now with no scale transforms. Should be good, so let's inspect this. Just to be sure here. Radius 10, perfect. And this, if we make it 4, it should be an ellipse. Yeah, okay, so that's all working. That's totally fine. So this now, 1, 1. Let me make svg/line here for a minute. So it's being translated right into the center. So let me manually think about this. Let's do negative 10, negative 10, 10, 10. There we are. Okay, so the circle can technically go away. I don't need it there. Let's do SVG line. We'll do 10, 10, negative 10, negative 10. How about that, huh? I think that looks good. All right, so let's pop the scale like this. Line. So we should see, must have missed something here. Oh. Scale translates closed. G tags closed. SVG is closed. Container. Okay. And now I have to refresh this. Something's wrong here. Oh, no. This is why. There we go. Okay. Right, so if I scale this 1 by 2, maybe this is fine. I'm just trying to think about like usability of this. Okay, so the circle there just is to kind of mark the center for a minute. This line, if I scale it 1 by 2, if I scale it 2 by 2, I kind of think this makes sense. It's up to me as the user to be comfortable with that. It'll scale from 0, 0. Does that make sense? Because the same thing was true of the circle, but I still want the circle to retain its normal positioning. The problem is what counts as normal positioning of a line. Oh boy. I'm having a really hard time actually deciding how I want this to work. I kind of want it to scale from its center. So in order to do that, this is hard for me to figure out. Okay, so let's make the decision that, let me put a little blurb and scale here. So that's the decision, right? You can scale something uniformly, so the scale in X and scale in Y are equivalent, or you can do it non-uniformly, but no matter what, the bounding box center before and after will be in the same position. So if that's how I want to treat it, Circle and ellipse are already covered. They will work just fine. They'll scale appropriately from their center points. Line I have to do a little differently now. So I can't do it like this. I also can't do it like this, where it only updates x2, y2. I have to actually do some calculating here. I need to find the bounding box, center point, and then I need to scale the length of the line what's the smart way to do this? I could use the translate function to calculate its translation, I suppose. What's the smart approach here? Well, with a line, let me add a little helper here. SVG element, shapes. If we go to line, I can cheat for a moment and add a line and a circle that has radius 5, center x is bx minus ax, and center y is by minus ay. And that should be its center point. Save that. Let's have a look here. Did something break? Did I miss something? Maybe I can't do a list. Maybe it has to be, let's put it in a group. Let's try that. Something's going wrong here. What did I miss here? What's going on? Oh, it's also not right. I have a function for this already, don't I? Well, let's go back here. Shapes, line. Come on, let's get this in a there we go. We've got it back to a working state, or visual state anyway. I was reading messages. Completely lost my train of thought. That's my bad. That's okay though. I can get back on it. So, right. If I do right, I've got this here, bounding box center, that takes points. Right, so if I do 0, 0, 1, 1, this should give me half, 0.5, 0.5. Okay, so what's going through my brain right now is I kind of wanted bounding box center to stay in the draw namespace, but draw pulls in SVG, so I can't have the namespaces pulling into each other like that. So that's making me rethink the order of things a little bit, that's all. Right. I will be right back. I just need to get up, get some water, clear my mind for a second. Won't be long. Right, so what am I trying to do here, right? That's the simple question. I am trying to scale shapes in an appropriate manner. And I need to do it by scaling scaling shapes around their center points, right? And so I have this here, bounding box center. It's a little messy, but I actually kind of wonder if I should do this. Turn geom helpers into its own thing. Like this. Silo.geom. And then here in draw, I do namespace stylo.geom refer, and then I refer all of these: round, 2 degree, 2 rad, which let's go like this for a minute. And these are not even definitive, these here. I don't know if I need all of them. I also don't know that they're the right implementation, so those are subject to change. But let's save that there, and geom build a namespace declaration here. Namespace stylo.geom. Just leave it at that. And then here, maths. Then, in theory, I could do load file, source stylo geom.cljc. Okay, so that does load, which is nice. And then here, I can pull that in to this namespace. Stylo geometry as G. Let's see if that works. So then we do G/bounding box center. And it works. Perfect. Okay, so that's a good. That's good. I think that I can be happy with that choice for the time being. And draw. Shouldn't break, but it's getting smaller and smaller as a library anyway, or as a namespace. But that actually is good, because the intent of this here is to have draw be so SVG is the direct API to use for drawing figures with SVG. And the components are designed to work just as well with reagent so that React components can be built with it pretty easily. But it's a direct kind of the lowest users can use it, but it's just directly making SVG. Draw is going to be the layer of abstraction that's useful for making a bunch of 2D diagrams and 3D diagrams. So draw really will be the spot where end users use and create things from. So then SVG and geometry become necessary parts of it, but from the user's perspective, you won't really need to bring in SVG or geometry. You'll just work directly in draw. That's the idea here. And I think I like that set of structure. Really, at the end of the day, the user is just going to be creating documents that use draw, and the document builder will do all the other work. So the user only really has to care about what functions are available in draw and what functions are available in the extension spot. So draw is built off SVG and geometry. Builder reads the user's files and produces the rendered output. So the user needs to know how to use Builder, but that has a main entry point. The user needs to know the API for draw so that they know how to draw their figures. And extensions will basically be additional abstractions that are useful over top of draw. And that's basically it. So the main entry point for creating documents is through Builder. The user can learn and get good at writing extensions which use draw. And that's pretty much it. So all this other stuff is just sort of one level below where the user will typically need to care, is kind of the idea. I think that makes sense, and I think I'm pretty happy with that. So, but to get back into it, if I go to SVG here, if I do translate's not what I need. Scale is where I'm at here. Interface, I'm not there yet. We're at scale element line. This is where we're at now. Right, so what I need is right, so I do believe actually all I will really need is this here. Center X, center Y is just going to be bounding box center of right, where this is x1 of props, y1 of props, x2 props, y2 props. So cx, cy of that And then new props is just going to be all you should have to do I'm trying to think about this. What's the right logic here? Right, so if the bounding box center is some non-zero values, right, that'll be its center point. If you multiply your scale on that, that'll move that center point times the scale values. So every other point has to be translated backwards by cx, cy times the scale factors. So all I should have to do is rewrite this to be some function that takes that into account. So it's just going to be this whole thing minus now, I don't know if this is actually going to be right, but it's the first thing my brain's going to, so we'll start there and adjust accordingly. Oh, pardon me. Does that make any sense? We will find out. We will find out. Uh-oh. I goofed it somewhere. Let's see here. Right, let's have a look. This should be refreshed. This should be saved. Okay, something's wrong. Yes, these are not good. What? Where's this now? Draw / round. Ugh, yes, of course. Now I've got all kinds of goofy mix-ups here. course, there's always something. Stylo geometry as G. Let's save that and have a look at that. Let's call that what that is there for now. Okay, so that works kinda. Oops, what did I do? Alright, so we got something that is halfway to working. There we go. Okay, now, right, let's have a look here. So this okay. SVG line 0, 0, 30, negative 30. Okay, so I have a problem here. This line in the scale is being moved because of the scale, but we don't want it to move, we just want it to scale around its center points, right? That's all we want. Right, so it is kind of working. It's scaling the way you kind of expect, right? But we're getting these weird, I still want it to be at its 0, 0 position. I just want it to scale around its center point. So I want its center point before and after to be equivalent. I don't want its... should it maybe just be this? Okay, we're almost onto something, but not quite. That's the problem I'm facing. Right, so I have this here. Actually, right, so you do all this stuff here, and then actually what you do at the very end of that is add back Does that make sense? I do think I'm slightly overcomplicating things in my brain here for this, but gotta fumble around sometimes, you know? Although, To be totally honest, I feel like I fumble around more than not these days. Right, so this scale here is still moving things to its center point, which is not what I want. And the reason for that is, so I could actually run the math, right? So in the case of the line 0, 0 to 30, 30, right, your center points are going to be 15 and 15x and 15y. You're updating the x1 position, which is 0 at the start. You can pronounce it Parinade. Parinade. Nice. Hi there. Things are going well. How are things going for you? Good to see you again. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, things are going reasonably well. I'm working on, so I finished the translate stuff. You doing well? Started your paid time off? Oh, nice. Should be nice. Hopefully you can use that time nicely for the stuff you wanted to do. Nothing wrong with a little bit of paid time off. Is it because you're, like, are you feeling sick, or you wanted to, like, for other reasons? 2 weeks to reset? Nice. Yeah, that always feels really nice. Just vacationing. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear it. That should be really nice for you. Right, so what I'm doing at the moment, so I had finished off the translate thing, right? It works pretty nicely. It works on all the nested structures and things like that. So I could, you may have seen this yesterday anyway, it's not new. So there we go, right? I can do, oops, rectangles as well, where the width, let's say, is 10, 20. There you go. There's that, and then I can even let's translate that rectangle back by 50, negative 100 here. There we go. Pretty much create objects and symbols representing it. Yep. So the translate thing works, right? Nicely, and I'm in the process now of doing the same idea with scale, which when I first thought of it would actually, I thought it would be easier, but there's some interesting sort of unique challenges with scale. So let's imagine this circle right here in the middle. Let's say I want to scale it up 20 times. I can do that. Oh, I thought I could do that. I may have, oh, that's right, scale element. There we go. So scale element circle works, but here's the thing, or here's a thing, right? If I scale it non-uniformly, you can stretch and squash shapes, right? So the circle is an ellipse now. And now it's a circle again. So if I actually look at the output document here, if I inspect the elements, inspect the elements. All right. Well, let me make my life a little easier here. Let's just get rid of some stuff. Right, so I'm looking at the circle. Okay, good. So this here, this circle, if I go into the SVG here, it's actually, because I scaled it non-uniformly, it's actually being represented as an ellipse right now, but it's a little confusing, I guess, because now with a uniform scale of the circle, I can still, if I go back into the document, it actually it changes it back to a circle, as it were. So if I make it 22.002, right? So visually it looks almost the same, but it's technically a non-uniform scale. It'll now be an ellipse here with a really small difference in the RY here. Now, this is a choice I made. I had another thing here where I could scale element. I have another function that's almost the same, but it's scale element by transform. And what that ends up doing is a different sort of thing. And it's hard to illustrate what my problem is here. So scale element by transform creates this scenario here where I've got this circle here, but I injected into the properties here a transform scale 1.25 by 1. Now the thing I don't like about that is it changes the center position of the circle. So if I have a circle, oops, this circle's center position is right where my cursor is here. But if I wanted to scale it up 1.5 times, suddenly I have to translate this back 200 by divided by 1.5. So that this would be in its center. But now I have to, if I want the other objects in there to not move, right, I have to do all kinds of manual math here. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense in my brain to do it that way. Like I think that's pretty messy. So what I'm working on instead is scale element without this transform thing. So the idea is it scales nicely around whatever you can, like it'll scale around the center position of the object that you're scaling. So I'm in the process of building that idea out for all of the shape types that you can give it. So here we have this sort of weird scenario where I have an ellipse, right, with 50 by 25. So then I scaled it 1 by 2. So now it's technically a circle again, but if I look here at the element, it remains an ellipse. So there are situations where you can, in the code, you can have a circle, scale it non-uniformly this way, and then later on scale it again, so it's technically a circle again, but it won't show up as a circle in the final result. So I don't know one way or another if my decision is ultimately the smartest. It works for how I want to use the tool, and I think it's going to be fine, but this is just a weird example of how, oh, it turns out doing the scale was actually a little harder than I anticipated. I thought it would be very straightforward. And I mean, the only reason it's complicated is because I want to scale from the center points. I could implement all of this by just scaling, like by just multiplying all of the XY coordinate positions by your scale values, and it would all theoretically be fine. But that is not how I've decided to do it. Not sure if any of that made sense. Things being harder than it seemed is a common scenario for me. I'm glad I'm not the only one. It's actually it's kind of fun, you know, like you if I always knew exactly how hard a thing would be before I started doing something, I might start fewer things overall. You know what I mean? Like, if I thought, oh, that's probably fairly straightforward, and then I started it and then realized it's harder, at least I've started it and now I can finish it. But if I thought it was going to be really hard all the way from the beginning, there's a chance you don't even start. So sometimes it's this weird sort of helpful thing that your brain kind of tricks you into starting things. A little silly, but hey, I have fun with it that way. It's difficult to notice the complexity at a glance because our opinions are based on assumptions too much. Yeah, I think what happens, right, is as we get used to certain assumptions and certain abstractions and ways of thinking about things, right, we start to take them for granted, right? Like, language is an obvious example here, right? Like, when you first learn any language, if you're a kid or you're an adult learning second or third languages, what have you, it's really quite difficult, right? You have no assumptions about sounds or meaning associated with those sounds, but as you gain comfort with that, right, it almost becomes these baseline assumptions, and so you can use them really powerfully, but there are times where it doesn't make sense anymore, right? So assumptions are useful tools some of the time, but complexity, yeah, is like hidden just under, like you just have to peek under the hood of our assumptions and, oh man, there's tons of complexity there. Sometimes, not always, but often enough. Often enough. All right, so let me blow this all away for a minute here. This is right, so what I'm trying to do, basically what I can do, right, so x1, if I get these back to their baseline simple things and go from there, I can arrive at a reasonably useful conclusion. Let's have a look here. So this function is just going to be x1 times scale x. This one is going to be sy. This one's going to be sx. And this one's sy. All of these need those closed brackets there. I really should make par-infer part of my actual workflow here. I'm too lazy to do all that stuff sometimes. Okay, right, so what's happened here is we're in a situation where scale is working call it in a naive sort of fashion. So this here, this line pointing down, this line pointing downward or upward? Upward. This one here is what I'm looking at. This one, let's just get it out of the way. All right. If I scale it double, did that work the way I expected it to? Let me, where's the circle? Oh, it's an ellipse. Circle 2. Okay, so that circle is marking the center point. What I want to do, I wonder if this will work. Actually, let's see if this works. Circle 3. I have no idea if this will work, but worth a shot, right? Not quite. I actually thought that this, okay, well, let me try it this way then. We'll add in there circle with our oh, this isn't gonna work. Well, it might. Well, let's have a look here. Let's do radius 3, cx, cx, cy, cy. Let's try that. Might work. Let's give it a shot. All I'm trying to do here, I don't want this circle to be permanently part of a line, the line definition. I just want it as like a debug, a visual debugging assist. Oh, and I would need to refresh this. And it broke. Did it break? Looks like it broke. Oh, right. This would have to be... Maybe that'll work. Negative. Oh, this can't work. Ugh, well, whatever. I won't worry about it. I'll debug differently. This is, I'm trying to be lazy a little bit. Laziness rarely pays off. I was just trying to be quick. I was trying to be clever with how I debug some things here, but I don't need to be. Where's the line? There we go. Okay. Right, I am gonna get myself coffee for a second. I won't be too long. Gotta also get up and stretch a bit, you know? I won't be long. Right, okay. So the idea is well, basically find the bounding box center, translate BB center to 0, 0, scale all x, y values by multiplying scale x, scale y, and then translate back to those are the steps that need to happen, right? So we can just go ahead and do that, right? So let's see here. Find the bounding box center. We have cx, cy. Translate to 0, 0. So that does mean this function should be, right, you're going to take your x position and you're going to subtract cy or cx from that. Then that is going to be multiplied by the scale. And then that is going to be translated back like that. So that is basically the pattern for every one of these. So let's just go ahead and do a little bit of copy-paste magique, but change these out for y. And these for y. And then let's just make sure that that actually is right, because maybe I'm still not thinking through it totally correctly. Save that and let's have a look here. Okay, so that's tangled there. So let's refresh the browser page here twice to be safe. Even with the shift to clear cache, like a fancy man. Okay, so far things are looking okay, right? Things are looking pretty good in the sense that I am running the scale over the line with a 1-1 and it's not changing the position of the line at all, which is a good thing. That's exactly what we need. What I am gonna do is just mark, so circle this here is just marking the 0, 0 position of the line, so right there. I want to make another circle to mark the center position, like the center bounding box of the line, which will be circle, translate. It's going to be 15, negative 15 is the translation point of a circle of radius 2. So that is, this circle here is the center point of that line. So now this 2, 2, what I want to see is that the line's center point, okay, so this is not working. So it's not doing what I expected it to, and that is totally okay. Oh, maybe it is. I just had to refresh. Let's see here. Okay, so things look pretty good. Now let's get into the weird stuff a little bit here. 5, 5. Okay, good. So now what I should be able to do perfect. Okay. So things are looking okay. svg/translate. This line. Oop. Yeah, okay. Things are looking good. Right, so that matches the logic of what that matches the exact logic of how I'm handling scaling for circles and ellipses. So for the line, it scales about the line's center point basically, which is exactly good. It can seem unintuitive, but I believe that to be more intuitive than not. So that, now with that logic we can continue to build out the scale for, so we've got circle, ellipse, line. We can do path next. Ooh, path is going to be, as always, path is a challenge. But there's no reason to shy away from challenges. Although before I get into path, I'll do polygon and polyline because they are simpler and they're relatively easy to test out. So next set of things to do. Let's prep this little test spot here. Let's get rid of everything in here for a moment. Okay, translate 200, 200, svg/circle 2. That's the center point, and here we'll do svg polygon shoot, that's okay. Polygon, it's got a list of points. I'll draw a diamond there, I guess, for fun in a second. So there'll be a polygon there. Translate, close the G tag, close SVG, close that, close that. One thing I occasionally don't like about Clojure is, well, and it's actually not even a Clojure thing, it's more when you're working with your data structures, and if you work with vectors a lot like this with the square brackets, you get into these sort of weird scenarios where you have to close your parens, but sometimes it's square and circle or regular parens kind of intermingled. Now this is exactly why people would say to me, hey, you should use parinfer or paredit, and I just keep forgetting to. I have no excuse, I just forget to set up my Emacs in the way that might be good. It's laziness. That's the only excuse, and it's a terrible excuse, but that's the reality at the moment. All right, enough jibber jabber. Okay, start at 0, 0. Okay, 15, 15. No, we'll do 30, 15. 30 out, 15 up. 15, 30. This one, let's see if that actually builds. It does. That's a weird shape. Why did I do it like that? What's going on? Oh, this should be, man, I really goofed this one up. Okay, so this should be actually 15, 0, 30, 15, 15, 30, 15, 0. Let's try that. There we go. Now we've got a diamond. So what I want, if I mark the center point of this, that'll be, so the width of that diamond is 30, right? So if I do a circle at 15, 15, hey, did I do it wrong? Oh, there we go. Okay, so we have some useful points on there. Now, polygon. Okay. Polygon, translate. Let's look at how I handled the translate element for polygon. Right, so what I did was get points from props by running this function over it, by defining a method for producing new points, and then associating into new props the new points, and then creating k new props. So let me just copy this whole thing as a basis. Scale, ellipse, line, def method, scale element. Paste that bad boy. Right, so now all I have to really focus on is the new points thing here. Right, so points, here, let's run this. If I do polygon, well, let's def A as polygon with these points. Right, so there's polygon. If I do points from second of A, that's the point string. And if I run string to points of this, I get a list, I get back out what I put in, which is really nice. So that's what's going on. That's this line here. So I get points as a list of points from the polygon. Now, here, I actually need to do cx, cy to get the center points, and I do geometry / bounding box center of points, and that will return to me the center position of these, right? So I can actually run that here. If I do gbb center of this list of points, this should give me a vector that's 15.0, 15.0, which it does, because that is the center point of this test shape that I've given it. And it works, it'll work if I redefine this to have different values. It'll calculate the center point of that. In a 2D case and in a polygon case, it's quite simple. You know for sure that the bounding box in the XY, it's technically an XY aligned bounding box, because the other minimal bounding box would be the polygon itself, right? So if you have a polygon defined by points, the bounding box is either going to be bigger than it based on its XY. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. All I really need to do is find the min and max of any of all the x's and all the y's for a polygon, and then you just do half between the min max for x, half between the min max for y, and that's guaranteed to be the bounding box center, which is guaranteed to be, in the case of 2D, like it's just a good visual place to scale things from. So long-winded way of saying nothing totally crazy, but it's useful to have the bounding box center as your point of scaling from. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is basically the same thing here. Every single point needs to have this set of functions run on it. Right? Is that correct? Right, so if I scale the point around center, I can pass in point, center, scale, like that. Yeah. x, y, center x, center y, scale x, scale y. Is this good? It's fine. Then you just return right, so this function is just a helper to do this, where I can map let me rearrange this for a minute. Center, scale, and your point is x, y. So what I can do is map partial scale point around center. It's hard to read. Let's try this though. Okay, so you turn right, so you map partial scale point around center, and it takes the center, cx, cy. I can actually just, I don't need to destructure this. I can do this. Center. Scale element polygon has sx, sy, like that. Okay. Scale point from center. It's just a shorter sure. It takes center, scale, and you're mapping that over the list of points. Okay, you turn that into a point string. So then you get your set of new points. Okay, that should be it. Let's see if it works. First, let's just refresh the browser here. Make sure things are things are responding. Good. Now, the moment of truth. Scale, svg/scale. This whole business. I need to put 1 there. Scale 1, 1. Let's see if it works. Okay, so we have a problem, right? Scale 1 to 1 shouldn't move that at all. Let's see what happens when I scale to 2. Okay, so nothing proper is happening here. Okay, so I messed something up, which is fine. I just have to figure out what it was that I messed up. Oh, of course. No, so making the classic mistakes where, okay, scale element is the function I need to be testing, not scale. Scale is an old thing that wraps it with a G tag. All right, so now the moment of, so scale 1.1 has no noticeable effect, which is good. Scale 2.2, let's see if it works. Yes, it works. That is very awesome. And so now, right, so I should see these points. The points that define the polygon have this, like, they're just hard. The calculation occurred as I, sorry, Parinade, I don't, not sure what you're responding to there. Maybe I missed something. Sorry, anyway. Oh, oh, no worries. I thought you were trying to tell me something or respond to something I had said, and I just totally lost the thread there, so my bad. Anyway, I'm excited by this. This is good because it's not wrapping things in tons and tons of tags. The scale is being applied directly to the element itself, and so I can translate it around the way I want to still, which is quite nice. I'm happy with that. And it also works with non-uniform scales, so it nicely will smush and stretch and all that stuff, which is awesome. You can even scale to 0, which doesn't actually make sense, right? Like, this should disappear. Sweet. All right, I'm really happy with that. That's exciting. Awesome. Okay, so that also happily means scale element for polyline is literally a copy paste because there's no difference. Both polygon and polyline have the same path points setup. So there should be no difference. Okay, polygon, polyline. Now let's check this here. Let's refresh that. Sounds cool. I have questions about ellipses in CAD software. Yeah, go ahead. What's the question? See if maybe I can help you out. Oh, did something go wrong? It's entirely possible. All right, nothing went wrong. Sweet. You've seen draftsmen describe ellipses with angles. Oh, let's see here. Trying to think if I've seen that before. A 30-degree ellipse. Well, let's see. Maybe the wiki has different ways, because when it comes to shapes and geometry, wondering if it's the same in CAD. Anytime I've drawn an ellipse in CAD, it's been by either you specify radius 1 and radius 2, and then you get the ellipse shape, or it's by It's by the 2 points at its shoot, what are they called? If you draw a line in the center of it, there's 2 points in an ellipse that you can here, the focal points, that's what it is. F1, F2, focal points there. So circles are special cases of ellipses, blah blah blah. But by angles, I'm less familiar with it, to be totally honest. I'm sure it can be done, but I've not really encountered it in CAD. I've not actually drawn ellipses in CAD all that frequently anyway. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, it does plenty, but I don't run into it nearly as often as, oh here, this would be, you can do it in polar form. Theta measured from the major axis. Then there's the equation here, which just is in polar form with theta. So I'm not sure if that's what is done underlying it in different drafting programs. Not sure. The two, it was used to represent circles situated at some degree toward the viewer. Do you mean like if you're looking at a circle, let's see. Right, so if you have a piece of paper with a circle on it, and if you're looking at it on an angle, the shape itself becomes an ellipse, that kind of thing. Oh yeah, like if you look at the wheel rim from some angle. Yeah, so in a case like that, actually, I work with 3D CAD a lot, so what I would actually do, yeah, that's what you meant. So in a case like that, instead of me drawing an ellipse, what I would do is in 3D space, I draw the cylinder, right? And then in say SolidWorks or something, you rotate the 3D shape, and then if you need to print a view of it, you print the 3D object from the camera's angle. So I never manually draw an ellipse. I draw a cylinder and adjust the camera angle and get the snapshot of it at that angle. Not sure if that makes any sense for you, but more often than not, if what you're describing is drawing views on angles, like isometric projections, all the user does is make a cylinder and change the camera angle. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. Maybe I'm going a little off the rails from what you mean. See if I have some kind of example that I can work. I can show you something. I'm kind of getting off the rails here a little bit, but oops. Oh, geez. Wow. Geez. Whoop. Not sure if this is the best example. Okay, so let's have a look here, right? This, where my cursor is tracing around here, is a circle, right? But I've just adjusted the camera so that the circle is, like I'm looking at it from a skewed angle. So the computer has calculated the 3D positions of the points, but the actual meaning behind the shape is still, hey, this is still a circle that's cut out from that particular plane, right? So, a draft person who is, let's imagine you're drawing a CAD drawing without a computer. You're literally drawing it on paper, and you need to manually draw this shape, right? absolutely at that point you will be drawing an ellipse, right? But the power of computers is such that, at least the idea is that you're no longer ever directly drawing the projection of a 3D shape onto 2D. You're just letting your graphics card calculate the camera position and thus what you will physically see in a 3D scenario, right? The whole idea of using computers to do CAD work is so that you're not manually saying, oh, I need to calculate this ellipse at this angle and blah, 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 blah. You're just saying, hey, computer, show me a cylinder when my camera is rotated 50 degrees from the axis. And then you, instead of drawing the ellipse, the computer just spits out the image for you. I hope that makes even a little bit of sense. But specifically in terms of drawing ellipses, the most frequent way I would do it would be ellipse, radius 1, 5, radius 2, 10. That's how I do it most of the time. So radius 1 is the x radius, radius 2 is the y radius. So this 5 by 10 makes a stretched ellipse, one of the ways. But honestly, I don't draw ellipses all that frequently, so it's perhaps a long-winded tangent. Hopefully it made sense to you. If not, feel free to ask for clarification, but the truth is maybe I don't know exactly enough to clarify for you. Hopefully though it's helpful. Try to be helpful if I can. Okay, so shapes, we've got now circle and ellipse are done, line's done, polygon, polyline is done. Okay, let's do rectangle and then we'll go circle back to path. So let's have a look at rectangle. This should be pretty simple. Where am I going here? Right, let's take the translate rectangle as a basis to begin. Scale, scale element. Oops, wrong buttons all day, pressing wrong buttons all day. Def method, scale element, rectangle, scale X, scale Y. Okay. All right, so all we need to do, it does? Yeah, cool, 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 cool. All right, what am I doing here? Okay, so a rectangle has properties X and Y, right? Have an off-topic question if you may? Yeah, you go right ahead, no problem. Go for it. Oh, what's going on here? Yeah, you go right ahead with any questions you got. Okay. Have I heard about a band called Annihilator? They're a Canadian band? I've not heard of them. Let me, I'm going to search on my phone just in case there's some artwork or whatever that's not that's not cool. Jeff Waters? You know what? There's actually a good chance that I have heard some of their work, but just never registered it in my head, you know? But to be honest, this isn't usually the genre I listen to. Bag of Tricks. You like them? They a good band? I'm pretty open to most music genres, and like, you know, over time I got to expand what I listen to just because it's nice. But that heavy metal kind of stuff, that's what I'm assuming it is. I think that's fair to say. It looks that way. Yeah, it's like metal. Yeah. With a band name Annihilator, probably metal, right? Most underrated band you know? Well, you know what? I don't know if you use Spotify. I use Spotify for everything these days. I can easily Annihilator. I can easily Annihilator. I can easily pop them on my listen to list. Nice. Never Neverlands, Set the World on Fire, those are great albums. Well, you know what? In the interest of expanding my listening habits, I'll pop those on my list. Awesome stuff. Is metal music, is that the genre you like the most, or just one of many that you listen to? Oh, what have I just done here? Okay, so this rectangle thing here, one of many, nice. Yeah. Honestly, lately, I actually have to work on this a bit, but lately a lot of my music has been like chill hop, chill wave, all that kind of stuff, because I've been trying to focus a lot and do a lot of programming and that kind of stuff, you know, a bit of studying, a bit of reading. So personally, I find stuff like metal or pop music, you know, things with heavy lyrics to not be great when you're trying to focus, but calm, you know, instrumental stuff has been great. But the problem with that is it does start to get a little dry, you know, so pop those on my list for a listen. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. I kind of wish I had like an encyclopedic knowledge of all Canadian media output, but that's not the case for me, you know. You listen to chill step, chill hop directly from playlists, not knowing many artists, but you love synthwave as well. Yeah, I actually have the same thing. A lot of that music, it's more like the genre is the thing that matters way more than any specific artist, because a lot of the stuff is similar enough that it's almost meaningless what artist it comes from. The obvious unfortunate thing is then artists they almost don't get the recognition they deserve for stuff like that. But I have the same thing. Slap on some playlist. You never remember the band names directly. I'm not sure that that's always good, but it's so easy to get lost in those playlists, you know? Synthwave is great too. Awesome stuff. Sometimes I love like those long YouTube ones where it's just like remixes of popular like Nintendo game soundtracks and stuff like that. That's great stuff. Alright, so if I scale a rectangle, what happens? I also actually, now I recognize there's a mistake or something I've failed to do over with rectangle here. So let's go check here. SVG rectangle. Does it have an optional center? Yes, it does. No, it does not. Okay. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, I'm being a little silly here. So rectangle, this here, X and Y. So this is the mistake, or polyline, polygon, and circle. Shoot. What is the right thing for me to do here? I'm thinking about if I should default a rectangle to be drawn at its center point or at its starting corner. Right now, X and Y start at 0, 0, which means it's drawn at its corner point, and you can manually translate things. Circles and ellipses don't work that way, but polygons and polylines do work that way. And I don't know if that's... I don't know what I want to do about that, but I'm gonna... I have to respond to a message for a second. It's bugging me. Again, gotta get up and go. Won't be too long. I do promise. I'll be back. Alright, it's a design decision. It depends on use cases. I mean, in many programs controlled with mouse and keyboard, you can do both. One of them is default. Yeah, so like that is the thing, right? Like as it is currently, I have it on 0, 0, and so if I draw something, if I draw a rectangle with a size of 30, 40, doesn't matter what, it's gonna be drawn from this point. Oh, why is that a problem? Oh. there. Yeah, so its corner point is there, and I can translate it manually like this. So now this rectangle is centered. So what I could do is either I could make a little thing that has an option, right? Right, I could pass an optional thing here, and then I just do when center, and then it just draws it differently. Or I could make a new function, rectangle centered, and I just combine the translate and the rectangle function. So like either way, there's any number of ways to draw it. I'm just trying to think of sensible defaults, that's all. Because I want things to be, you know, with as few surprises as possible. Let me see if I enjoy the idea. Let's see what happens, right? All I have to do, it's a really simple change. X is width divided by 2, and Y is height divided by 2, and that's it. So save that. If I save that and refresh this, this rectangle will now be drawn. This corner should scoot up when I save this. There. Oh, did I say scoot up? Should scoot down, I guess. Oh, of course. These do have to be negative. You know what? Let's go with that, because it's fine, I think. Is it? Is it fine? It might be fine. Okay, there we go. So this rectangle is now drawn centered. Perfect. Right, so we can get rid of this. And I think I'm okay with that. Well, okay, let's just make a decision. We'll make it like that. If it really proves to be horrible, we can undo and change things up later. But I think it's going to be totally fine, because circles and ellipses are they have their center point. Rectangles can easily just have their center point. That seems fine. Things like lines, polylines, polygons, and paths, since their absolute position will be dependent on the points that the user gives it anyway, they won't shift anything around. The only thing relevant to those is the scale function will scale them from their bounding box center, like I've already done with other things. So there should be no issues, really. So what that means is just that scale element rectangle. So the props for a scale, let's do this easy stuff first. Update width with this function. All you have to do is multiply the width by the scale x, and similarly update height with the same, multiply the height value by sy. So you have that. Then the only thing you have to do for x and y position, right, is update it with do you have to update it at all? Let's think about it. Yes, because width and height yeah, you do. You have to add to it half of the, well, let's see here. We can do this here. We can let width be sx, width from props h be sy, height props. So then all you do here, assoc into width, the width, and you assoc into height, the height, and then you update x and y by adding Is that right? Do you have to add stuff to it? Yeah, I think so. Let's find out if that makes any sense. By adding I'm not sure if that's right. We'll find out though. Easy enough to try it, right? Right, so let's get rid of polyline. Right, so this rectangle SVG slash scale 2 of this rectangle, will it work or will it barf? Okay, so we have the problem here where it's not doing what I think, what it should be doing. Oh yes, of course, once again, scale element is what I need. Let's refresh it. Well, let's ignore this. Why is that not doing anything? Weird. I expect okay, so something's going wrong here. What am I missing? Let's have a look. Right, so this rectangle has some width and height. Oh, I'm here. I'm assuming width. This is just wrong here. Width, height. I'm looking into the wrong keywords here. Okay, so this should result in something different. Okay, so scale 1 should. Okay, so we've got this not changing. Good. 2 still not changing. Right, so what am I missing here? Did I just not? There we go. Okay, good. So it is changing those appropriately. Now I just need to check this. Right, so we've got maybe it's as simple as this, assoc. Oop. Let's see here. No changes need to be saved. Did I already save it? Well, okay. Right, so that does correctly change it when the rectangle is already like that, but what if I apply a translate to the rectangle? Oh, that's gonna fail. I need one of them. Yeah, so it ignores, it ends up ignoring a translate, right? Is that true? Yes. right, which is of course not what I want. Right, so this is not behaving the way I need it to. And that is because I need its center point, its x and y to scale. I need its old x and y to be, I do need to update x and y by adding those, I thought. So that's what I had before, and I don't think it's totally right. So I do need to get going soonish. This might be a thing I have to solve off stream, which is fine. But I need to really put my head down and think about what I need here. It's not going to be hard. I'm just at that point where my brain's not totally completely engaged in the way I need it to be. I think everyone knows how that goes sometimes, right? Right, like if I get rid of this scale, this is fine. So what I want is the ability to scale the rectangle, which is moved now. So inspect this element. If I look at that rectangle, it's somewhere in here. Okay, this rectangle has a width and height, and its x and y position are 200, 200 because this translate has happened and this translate has happened on it, which is nice. This shouldn't it just work? Shouldn't it work? Right, so you pass a rectangle in, you're going to give it a new width and a new height. It's got some position already. You're scaling up the width and height. Shouldn't it be this whole thing divided by 2 times the scale in either direction? Maybe. I'm not sure that that's right, but alas, I will find out. Right, let's scale this whole thing up to 2. Okay, nice even scale. Should be good there. Once again, my classic problem, testing the wrong function. Okay, so let's double check that x and y are actually the proper things to be changing here for a minute. Alright, if I go up to rectangle here, we do have x and we do have y. They have some basis, existing things, right? You want to scale on its center position. I mean, actually, I can just use this same thing here, I think. Let me check. Let me, I'll give that a shot, and then we'll just call it a day if that's not working, because my brain is starting to shut down a little bit, unfortunately. If we do cx is, you just pull x from props, cy, you pull y from props. Those are the, no, that's actually not right. It's gonna be, wait, no, that should be right? Let's think here. I think that is right. And then update is just update x with this, and update y with this. Oops. Give that a shot. Not quite. Should error. Yep. Come back here. Well, so we're at a point where scale is, at least it's scaling the size of things, which is good. I'm just not being intelligent about scaling around its center position, right? That's and it totally ends up tossing out any translate that it had, because alright, let's try one final thing here. So we know that this doesn't work because if the scale isn't happening, right, this particular rectangle should be drawn with its corner right here, because I've translated it to the corner point, right? So the last thing I'll try is changing cx to b. Just width divided by 2, and cy is just height divided by 2. Wait a second, maybe it did work and I was just not paying attention. No, I'm losing the thread. It's almost time for me to call it a day. My brain is crying out for a break. I'm making silly mistakes. Things are going a little off the rails. I don't mind. I mean, that's just the way things go, but it does signal a need for a break soon. So far this is signs of something being correct. We've got the scale is happening. It's a 1-to-1 scale, and it's not it's not gobbling up the translate here. So let's see. If I save this, the center of the rectangle should be still about where that, right, so there we go. I've made a slight mistake. Things are still not totally working. If I make this, ooh, maybe this, if I go like this, oops, oops. Oh, what have I done? I've never done that keyboard shortcut before. Okay, plunk that right there. Resting is important. Yeah, sure is. And you know, sometimes, like, it's not like I'm tired, it's just that my brain is just not, it's not working with me right now. I'm kind of working against it, you know. That's totally fine. I need some food soon, and I gotta go hit the gym with my brother in probably an hour or so. So I like to shift gears mentally, you know, before I head over that way. I don't know about you, but I happen to love taking breaks from programming and doing, you know, going on runs, going on walks. Ooh, hey, this is just garbage right here. Lifting weights, you know, all the fitness stuff. I love that. It's just really nice to break up your day, you know. Well, let's like proper squatting after work. Yeah. I squats. My squats have been my weakest thing for a while now. I've been trying to focus on them a bit more, and by weakest I mean the weight I can lift is not as high as it used to be, which is like totally not a problem, right? It's just something I want to change. But all that stuff, I really do. Come on, I'm getting sloppy. I do love all that stuff. Okay, there we go. This is looking like what I expect. Right, so if I go back to 1-1, and if I draw, just for kicks, a circle, let's translate, this has to be 25, 25, circle 2, that should mark the center point of this right here. And now this scale, I want to scale it up to 2. Good. There we go. This is what I wanted. Awesome. Okay, so I have a rectangle. Let's actually, just for fun, okay, so we do have an issue? What am I doing here? 1-1. Translate has to be, oh yes, 50, 25. Right, this circle here, I now want to translate 50, 25. Right, that's the center of that rectangle now. And if I scale it 2 by 2, it's the center of it there. If I scale it 1 by 2, it's a square again, but that's fine. 1 by 0.5. Awesome. Okay, things are looking pretty good. in terms of being able to mess with translations of things. Nice. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I like that. I'm happy with that. Do I want to keep working? I really should probably stop for the day. Let's see what's up next anyway. Right, so let's just have a quick look at the things I finished. Although I can actually just do check SVG implementation. Oh no, that's not true. All right, let's be lazy. If I go here, scale element, if I run that in the REPL, that just evaluated all of the def methods that I've done today. So now I can check SVG implementation, and I want to check scale element. So the only things I don't have are scale for path, scale for G, and scale for text. So path is going to be the weirdest one, although if I think about it, it won't be too bad, I don't think. I'm not going to get to it today, but it will be a bit tougher because path does allow for single lists of points or multiple lists of points, so I have to account for the center, the bounding box center of all possible points. So I'm going to have to take the list of points, concatenate the list, any lists of points, and run the bounding box center on that, and then whatever, it's fine. That's all perfectly good for later though. So let me actually just stub it though. The order that I wrote it in, path is right after line and before. Oh shoot. Yeah, no, it'll be path, that's fine, right? Translate element, right? I've got ellipse, line, path. Yeah, okay. So here, if I just copy this to make the stub, and then I'm gonna get going. Transforms, scale element, zip on down to line here, split that, right? Sure, and split this there. Perfect. Scale element. Scale element for path not finished yet. There we go. Okay, props, paths. Scale element SX, SY. Paths, new paths, map, path to points. Yep, okay, so let me make it so that it will fail, right? There. Save it with an incomplete S expression so that when I try to run things, it'll give me errors so that I know exactly where I have to go next. So, all right, that is going to be it for my stream for the day. I actually feel pretty good about how I approach things. Didn't go too fast, didn't go too slow, got a few things done, made a few nice decisions about how to approach scaling, and got most of the scale implementation done, which is really good. So I'm gonna basically, by the end of the night, because I'll probably do some of this off stream, translate is totally done, scale will be totally done, and rotate will be probably begun and most of the way, well, part of the way complete. And then once I have those transforms done, I've essentially finished the SVG wrapper that I want. And then after that, I have to figure out specifically what to do next. I have some ideas. I'll need to clean up and really... so I've got SVG, I've got geometry, which is just math, basically. It's just math stuff for 2D, 3D. The next thing will really be building a consistent draw API. And that'll be important because that's where, basically that's where the user is going to be focused. The user can, but won't need to use SVG or geometry, but they will need to use draw. That's the idea. And it's going to have the idea, the abstraction of sketches. It's going to have the abstraction of parts and assemblies, I think. Maybe not totally, but it's going to have that. It's going to have this stuff that helps you make nice 2D CAD drawings and 3D CAD drawings right in your documents. That's the idea of the draw thing. I will have to clean up Builder and make a good test setup for the parser, because the parser doesn't work totally. There's some errors with it. It works well enough that I can still render documents, but I need to get it guaranteed to work. So those are a few of the things I can do next. But this forward progress is awesome. Yeah, good. Going forwards consistently is good. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Every day, a little bit further. It's nice. It's very satisfying. All right, that's enough chit chat from me. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're watching live and you were joining in the chat, thanks so much. I really do appreciate that. It's tons of fun. Hope you come back. It's enjoyable. If you like this and you want other people, if you want this to grow, you seriously, please spread the word, post it somewhere if you want to share it with people who you think would actually enjoy it. Like, don't waste your time if you're just spamming things. That's not helpful. But if you're watching this on YouTube some other time, feel free, like, subscribe, comment, share, all of that call to action stuff. I ask sincerely, right? If you can and want to help in that way, it would be awesome. If you don't want to, whatever. It's totally cool. I'm going to keep things going. So I'm just happy that people are engaged at all. I appreciate it. And for what it's worth, I hope you all have a good day and have a good time. And do the things that you want to do with dedication and all that good effort, you know? Fortunately, not many people are interested in these topics, especially such narrowly used languages. I think the streams are cool though. Well, I appreciate that. Maybe it is pretty niche. I have my gut tells me that you're right, it's probably pretty niche, but there's probably some more people that could tune in and enjoy it. It's not your problem to find them. It's my work to find it, you know. Clojure's future. I think Clojure has some fantastic ideas that we should bring forward into the future. I love Clojure. It's tons of fun, and I do hope it keeps building momentum and more people love it. So I'm doing my part to show the fun stuff that you can do with it. But I keep saying that's enough chit chat and I keep chatting. Funny how that goes. Hey, I'm going to get going. I'm going to make myself some food. I'm going to go do a workout. I hope everyone has a wonderful time. I'll be on my way. Have a good one.